Getting some Titans memorabilia from a trusted site is a win, right?
We'll make it a win-win by going to titanstimepodcast.com/fanatics and shopping through our Fanatics links to get your next favorite piece of Titans memorabilia while also supporting the Titans Time Podcast. That is titanstimepodcast.com/fanatics. Welcome to Titans Time. I'm Tanner Staggs, and joining me, as always, Tyler Staggs. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you go ahead and go down and do that. Turn on the post notifications, and also check out our podcast on whatever app that you listen to your podcast on.
All right, guys. So, since the Titans' first practice at Nissan Stadium last Friday, Shane Bowen has been calling the defensive plays. We want your guys' feedback on this, on if you think that this is just something the Titans are doing right now, or if you think that Shane Bowen is still going to be calling the plays once the season starts. So leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on that.
We're going to be giving our thoughts later on in the video, so make sure that you stay. But let's just talk a minute about Shane Bowen, and what he's been with the Titans for the past 2 seasons. This will be his 3rd that he's going into. He's been the outside linebackers coach, and during that time, the outside linebackers have really had some success. Harold Landry has come in, and of course last season he was really, really good. He was a bit overused, and that kind of led to him being a little burnt out by the end of the season. But Shane Bowen has done some really good things, and he's had some time to even learn from Dean Pease. And we know how good of a defensive coordinator Dean Pease was. This could just be to take some heat off of Mike Vrabel during practice, but
just take some of the pressure off of him right now.
Yeah, just to take some of the pressure off of him. But wouldn't you say that as a head coach, Mike Vrabel, he's going to have a lot of things to do on game day as well, and with some of the important decisions that he's going to have to make, wouldn't you want to, if Shane Bowen's already doing this in practice right now, just go ahead and let him do it in the game so that Mike Vrabel can really focus collectively on the things that he needs to be focused on as a head coach?
I think so. Now, in my opinion, I think that Shane needs to be the one. He just needs to go ahead and let him be the one calling the plays for the season. Vrabel, of course, I believe is going to have all of the defensive play calls coming through his headset. Kind of like last year, he said, I believe he said that all the defensive calls that were made, he had them coming through his headset so he would know what was going on. And I think he can do that again this year. And I think he's going to let Shane have a lot of kind of free range, call whatever he wants to, but at the same time, if he doesn't like a call, there's a very good chance he can change it, or after that play, he can come back to Shane and be like, hey, I don't want to, if we get that look again, I don't want to run that play. So.
Well, and the interesting thing to me is that they didn't hire a defensive coordinator. So even if Shane Bowen is the one that's going to be calling the plays, either way you go with it, Shane Bowen, Mike Vrabel, someone is going to be doing 2 jobs. Shane Bowen's either going to be the outside linebackers coach and calling the plays, almost kind of the defensive coordinator, or Mike Vrabel's going to be head coach defensive coordinator, which is a lot to take on your shoulders. So either way, there's going to be someone that might be a little overwhelmed. Shane Bowen, especially with him, he was with the Texans as a defensive assistant for a little bit. Now he's been an outside linebackers coach, but calling plays is something that actually hasn't been put on his shoulders yet in the NFL.
But he has been enjoying getting to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean that's just him. He's being able to take the next step in his career.
If you look at the success that he's had with the outside linebacker so far, last 2 seasons, they've accounted for, I believe it's 34 out of the team's 81 sacks. And if you think about it, he's a young guy. Maybe he can translate that success to the rest of the defense. And maybe the reason Vrabel is picking him right now to be calling the defensive plays is because the outside linebackers have had success getting to opposing quarterbacks and getting those sacks. So maybe he's hoping that this could be an answer to what happened in the AFC Championship game when they weren't getting to the quarterback. Maybe he's thinking he can bring that success to the whole defense and come up with some good play calls and some good blitz packages, everything like that.
I think we would both agree that we think Shane Bowen should be the one that's calling these shots. I put a feeler out on Facebook just to kind of see. By the way, check us out. We just started our Facebook page. It's Titans Time. I put a feeler out just to kind of see, what people were thinking about this. A lot of people are thinking Vrabel. There was a select few that did say Shane Bowen. Personally, I am going to have to go with Shane Bowen just because I want Vrabel to be able to focus on those things. And this is a huge reason that I'm about to give. The Titans really could have something special going on with Arthur Smith, a young offensive coordinator that has really burst onto the scene and has been responsible for the Titans offense being just so good like it has been. He's really been incorporating Derrick Henry, and then of course when he got Ryan Tannehill in the offense, things just started clicking. So you could have Shane Bowen, who is an extremely young guy, and then Arthur Smith, who is pretty young as well. Both of those guys as your coordinators, who are kind of the new guys in the NFL that are coming up, really bursting onto the scene as some of the NFL's great coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, at least continue to give Shane the chance. Like, maybe even if it's just earlier in the season, when you're giving him that chance, the first couple of weeks, see how he's doing with the play calls. I mean, if you need to make a change then, it's not going to hurt you that bad. But, give the guy the chance, let him see what he can do in an actual regular season game calling the plays. And like I said, Vrabel's still probably going to have those defensive play calls coming through his headset. So if there's something that he doesn't like, he's the head coach. He's going to have the final say.
And, even if Shane Bowen is calling those plays, he's been learning from Mike Vrabel. He's been learning from Dean Pease. This year is kind of it's an odd one to have to do something like this with a new defensive coordinator that hasn't actually coached at that coaching position before, because there's no preseason games. There have been no preseason games for there to be a bit of a trial run. So if they are going to go that route with Shane Bowen, that trial run is essentially going to be week 1 against the Denver Broncos.
Well, and also,
which is a little scary.
You have other, defensive position coaches that are also probably going to be giving some input. I think it's going to be a collective effort to some extent, and they're all going to help each other, because none of them have been hired as just a defensive coordinator. So they're all going to come together, be trying to learn and make this defense the best it can be. And like you mentioned with how this offseason has been, if anything, even if Shane isn't going to be the one making the play calls come the regular season, like you mentioned, this could be something where right now Vrabel's doing this to take some of the pressure off of him, because he knows that right now their off season is nowhere near what it usually is. So everything is being a lot more condensed, and instead of having that extra pressure of, okay, I'm going to be calling the plays right now in practice, instead of looking at these guys who he's not going to get to see in preseason game and deciding, all right, we're getting rid of him. Now he can strictly focus on watching how everyone's performing and seeing what guys are going to be best to keep on this roster.
And if they do decide to go with Shane Bowen, it will be week 1 against the Broncos, like we said. If it doesn't work out in week 1, week 2, if you're seeing that it's not working out, you have Mike Vrabel to fall back on. And Mike Vrabel goes way back with Dean Pease, all the way back to his Patriots days when Dean Pease was the defensive coordinator there. So, I think really what you're going to see is not going to be that much different from the defense that Dean Pease was running. Of course, he's a defensive mastermind. So if we can keep it anywhere close to what he had going on, then I think we're going to be in good shape.
And plus, you also have, all the days leading up to the regular season games, like during the week. You have all that time in between games that these guys are going to get together. Vrabel's going to let him know kind of what his thoughts are. They're going to look back at previous games. And, Vrabel can help Shane grow and make sure that they're on track to the defense that they want to have and the defensive play calls that they're wanting to utilize.
And even if Vrabel is the guy that ends up doing it for this season, they may be grooming Shane Bowen to step into that position for the next season.
Could be.
we've seen a lot of good stuff out of the Tennessee Titans through training camp. So it's going to be really exciting to see, what kind of team we have week 1 against the Denver Broncos. I know we're excited for it. Probably going to be a playoff run. And
oh yeah.
So guys, that's all that we have for this episode. Once again, let us know in the comments what you think. Should it be Mike Vrabel, Shane Bowen, and why? Also, make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on post notifications. Check out our podcast on any podcast app, whichever one you listen to them on, whatever your preference is, we're on there. Check us out on Twitter, Titans_time. Check us out on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast. And check out our website, titanstimepodcast.com.
This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.
Check out our Facebook page. Welcome to Titans. Cut.
Are you going to do that?
No, I'm not doing that.